Alright, here we are today for Algebra 1, talking about operations with real numbers. When you see me use the double bar R, that's what I call it. It's a capital R with an extra bar on it. I call it a double bar R. That stands for real numbers. It's all the numbers that we use in here. Okay, positive, negatives, fraction, decimals, the whole 9 yards. Our essential question today is how do you add, subtract, multiply, and divide real numbers? Okay, most of this should be a review for you. When you're adding real numbers, alright, think of the number line. Sometimes that'll help you. If you're taking a -3 and you want to add 6 to it, think of -3 on the number line and add 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's -3, -2, -1, 0. 1, 2, 3. There's your answer. Okay? Sometimes that's helpful when you're using some of the smaller numbers. Also, another little thing. If you're adding numbers that have the same sign, just add the numbers and carry the sign. 2 plus 3 we know is 5. -2 plus a -3 would be -5. So don't confuse that with multiplication. In addition, if the signs are the same, keep the same sign. Here's a couple of examples. 3 plus 4 is 7. -2 plus -6 is -8, just like we just mentioned. If you get a positive and a negative, the bigger number with the sign, that sign will be the sign on your answer. So -12 plus 7 is the same as 7 minus 12. You think of the number line, you're at 7, you go back 12 places, it takes you to -5. Whichever way is comfortable with you. Okay, there's no right way. They're both correct. It's whatever works for you. And I know that a lot of you have calculators, so we just deal with that. Here, if you got some decimals, it's the same thing. It doesn't change. It's the same rules. -4.8 plus 9.5, you can rewrite it as 9.5 minus 4.8, just a regular subtraction problem. Okay? When you're subtracting, to subtract we want to add the opposite. You've probably seen this already before. If you have A minus B, that's the same as A plus the opposite of B. We mean the opposite sign. So if you have 3 minus 5, that's the same as 3 plus a -5. Okay, so we've taken it back to an addition problem. So we can apply all the same rules here. 3 plus a -5, if you're on 3 on the number line and you go 5 to the left because you're subtracting 5, it'll take you to -2. -3 minus a negative, we all know from English, the double negative, it means positive. So 3 minus a -5 is the same as 3 plus 5, 8. 3.5 minus a 12.4, it's a decimal, still do the same things. You can treat that as a regular subtraction problem on your calculator, or you can change it to addition and add the opposite sign, add the negative. Get -8.9. Okay, you'll notice the bigger number is negative, so your answer will be negative. Alright, so that's adding and subtracting. You've done plenty of that before. Shouldn't be that big an issue for you. Same with multiplication and division. We all know that when you multiply and the signs are the same, it's going to be positive. Okay, you multiply 2 positives, you get a positive. You multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive. So if the signs are different, it'll be negative. Multiply the numbers like you always would. 12 times a -8, -96. 24 times 0.5 or a half, 12. And again, I know you're using calculators all the time. Negative times a negative makes it a positive. Fractions, remember you multiply across the top, you multiply across the bottom. Okay, unlike addition where you have to have a common denominator, you don't have to have that here. So -3 times a -1 is +3. 4 times 2 is 8. If you can simplify the fraction, simplify it. Okay, so that's multiplication. Straightforward, you've done plenty of that. Simplifying the square root, again, we have calculators that do this, but you should know the perfect squares. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, and so on. Okay, you know those are perfect squares because when you take the square root, you get integer values. Okay, square root of 36, 6. If there's a negative sign out front, You do what's inside here and then carry the negative along. That's the same as -1 times the square root of 25. So you get -5. If you get a plus or minus sign, it's like plus or minus 1 times what's right here. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of 49 is 7, so make it plus or minus 2 square root of 7. Okay? Not a big deal there. Division. Same rules up here with the signs as far as multiplication goes. Remember, you can't divide by 0. You can represent a division problem by a fraction. Okay? It's the top divided by the bottom. So, we know we can't have a 0 in the denominator, so you can't divide by 0. And remember, if you're dividing fractions, change to multiplication and take the reciprocal of the fraction that follows the sign. Okay? And again, you've done that for a couple years. Looking at some examples here, negative divided by a positive, negative 20 divided by 5 is -4. 2 goes into 10 5 times, positive, negative, so it's a negative. Negative, negative, so it would be a positive. 20 divided by 4 is 5. You can divide 0, you can't divide by 0. So 0 divided by 8 is just 0, but 8 divided by 0 you can't do. Okay? If we start mixing in some fractions, remember any one of these integers can be written over 1. So 4 can be written as 4 over 1. And we just multiply straight across. 4 times 1 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4, 4 over 4 simplifies to 1. 1/2 times 3, I can write the 3 as 3 over 1. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. If you get division here, okay, remember, take the division, switch to multiplication, and take the reciprocal, or flip, that fraction, the second one, that follows the division. So -3/4, division becomes multiplication, -2/3 becomes -3 over 2. Okay? Now it's multiplication. -3 times -3 is 9, 4 times 2 is 8, 9/8, 1 1/8, okay, or 1.125. They're both correct answers. So adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing real numbers, things we've been doing, that should be a review for you. Be careful of your signs. Remember addition, signs are the same, keep it that way, but if it's multiplication, the signs are the same, it's going to be a positive answer. If it's different, you'll get a negative answer. Okay? The addition and the subtraction pair up well together, and a lot of the same rules with multiplication and division. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Get that all in your notebooks. When you come into class the next day, we're going to do some problems like this, and we'll expand on it, put a little application into it. Okay? Hope this has been helpful. Get it all down in your notebook. Use your book if you want to look at some other stuff in there. We'll see you in class. Have a good one. Bye-bye.